CI/CD is a method to deliver much faster updates to end users by introducing automation into the stages of software development. In the past, developers in charge of a feature would often work in isolation for weeks, if not months, before merging and integrating their completed work into the master branch and eventually deploying it to production. By the time they would integrate their code, the master branch's code upon which they originally based their work on would have shifted so much that merging these new changes would often prove difficult and time-consuming, resulting in what is sometimes referred to as the merge hell. This would ultimately lead to code conflicts and bugs being accumulated for a long period of time without correction, making it almost impossible to deliver product updates quickly. To solve that issue, developers came up with an automated software release pipeline that combines continuous integration, delivery, and deployment, often abbreviated CI/CD. I'm Raz, and you're watching Explain It to a Duck. So the first step of this release pipeline is called continuous integration. Continuous integration, or CI, is the practice of automating the integration of frequent code changes from multiple developers into a central repository like Git, where builds and tests are ran in order to assert the new code's correctness before deployment. As continuous integration is intended to be used in combination with automated tests, it's often coupled with a software development process called test-driven development. If you don't know what that is, I encourage you to watch the video I made on it. Now, here's how the continuous integration workflow looks in practice. Developers build, test, and run their code on their own local environment on their workstations before committing the changes to a central repository. Every time new code is committed, the CI service picks up the changes and automatically builds the project. If the build is successful, unit tests and integration tests are ran to immediately surface any errors. And finally, a detailed report is sent to the team with the number of successful builds, the number of tests run, the percentage of failure, etc. Let's now move on to the next phase of the release pipeline called continuous delivery or deployment. Even though continuous delivery and continuous deployment sound very much alike, are both abbreviated CD, and are designed in essence to achieve the same goal, they differ on one point. Continuous delivery expands upon continuous integration, as its goal is to package the tested code into an artifact, also called a build, that can be deployed at any time through manual releases, either in the staging or production environment, and usually in that order. Here, deployment simply means distributing the software build by moving it to a public server or another mechanism of distribution, like an app store, for example. And why in that order? Well, because unit testing and integration testing are rarely enough to assert that a new release will work properly once it reaches the end users. And so they're usually completed with manual smoke tests or acceptance tests performed by a quality assurance member of the team on the staging environment, which configuration is usually a replica of the production one, or at least as close as possible to it, before being released to the end users. In contrast, continuous deployment goes one step further, as the release of the build to end users is automatic if none of the previous tests are failing, and therefore doesn't require any human intervention, which can be an excellent way to accelerate the feedback loop with your customers and take pressure off the team, since there's no need for release dates anymore, as the code is automatically deployed once it's ready. However, this fully automated release process is only possible if your team previously did the heavy DevOps lifting by carefully setting up each stage of the pipeline. In conclusion, the CI/CD pipeline is a powerful combination of automation tools to test, build, and deploy code that drastically improves its quality and makes the integration of new features blazing fast. And that wraps it up for today, guys. Feel free to share, like, and comment this video if you find content useful, and see you in a week for another episode of Explain It to a Duck. Cheers!